Good evening, my loves, and welcome back to Tales of Love. Thank you for being here tonight, where hearts are tested, secrets burn beneath the surface, and love is never as simple as it seems. Tonight's tale is one of temptation, betrayal, and a dangerous passion that refuses to stay buried. The story is called The Dangerous Ex. Claire had built her life carefully, like a house of glass where everything looked perfect from the outside. Married to Daniel for 10 years, she enjoyed a stable home, quiet evenings together, and the kind of devotion most women dreamed of. Daniel adored her. He was kind, dependable, and steady, but steady, as comforting as it was, had begun to feel like silence. The fire of passion that once burned between them had cooled into routine. She loved him, yes, but sometimes love felt too quiet. It was on an ordinary afternoon when the silence cracked. Claire stopped at her favorite cafe after work, tucked into a corner with her coffee, when she heard a voice that made her freeze. A voice she thought she'd never hear again. She looked up, and there stood Ethan. Her first love. Her first heartbreak. The man who once set her world on fire and then left her to pick up the ashes. Her breath caught. Time had changed him. His jaw sharper, his frame stronger, his smile more refined. But those eyes, those unmistakable eyes, looked at her like no years had passed. For a long moment, she couldn't speak. Then he smiled, soft and knowing, and said, "Claire, I can't believe it's you." The conversation that followed was polite at first, but the air between them was electric. They caught up on the years apart, traded little details, but underneath every word was a tension neither of them named. When Ethan leaned in and whispered, "You're even more beautiful than I remembered," something inside her shifted. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. That night, lying beside Daniel in their warm, familiar bed, Claire's mind wandered back to Ethan. She told herself it was nothing, just old memories stirring. But when her phone buzzed the next day with a message from him, "Lunch tomorrow," her fingers typed yes before her mind caught up. Lunch became laughter. Laughter became touches. His hand brushed hers across the table, and she didn't move away. When she looked into his eyes, she saw not just the man in front of her, but the girl she used to be. The girl who once believed in wild love and reckless passion. She left that lunch shaken, guilt pricking her skin, but also burning with something she couldn't name. A week later, Daniel was away on business. Claire stood in front of her mirror longer than usual, curling her hair, slipping into a dress she hadn't worn in years, painting her lips red. She told herself it was just dinner with an old friend. But as soon as Ethan opened the door to his apartment and his gaze lingered over her with raw hunger, the lie collapsed. The kiss came fast, as if both had been holding their breath for years. Claire resisted for a second, then surrendered, her body betraying the vows she carried. The night was reckless, urgent, filled with passion that left her trembling. In his arms, she rediscovered a fire she thought had long been extinguished. But the morning brought guilt. Claire stood by his window, staring out at the quiet street, and felt the weight of what she had done. Daniel's face flashed in her mind, his steady love, his trust, and shame clawed at her chest. She told herself it was a mistake, that it would never happen again. Yet when Ethan came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her, and whispered, "I've missed you every day," her resolve crumbled. One mistake became a pattern. They began to meet in secret, afternoons stolen, hotel rooms booked under false names, kisses in shadowed corners. Every time she told herself it was the last. Every time she went back. With Ethan, she felt wild, desired, consumed. With Daniel, she felt safe, cherished, steady. Her heart was caught between two worlds, and both tore her apart. The danger grew sharper when Daniel returned home early from a trip. Claire had just slipped back into bed after spending the evening with Ethan when she heard the door open. Daniel's voice, warm and excited, called her name. He appeared in the doorway with flowers in hand, smiling as he leaned down to kiss her. She forced herself to smile back, but inside, her pulse thundered with panic. Ethan's scent still lingered on her skin. That night, Daniel held her as he spoke about their future, about how much he loved her, while Claire lay frozen with guilt pressing against her chest. She realized then how fragile her carefully built life had become, how close she was to shattering it completely. Days later, she sat alone in her car after leaving Ethan's apartment, tears streaking her cheeks. She asked herself the question she had been avoiding. Was this worth it? Was the fire, the danger, the breathless passion worth risking the love of a man who had never once betrayed her?
She didn't have the answer.
All she knew was that the pull of the past was stronger than she had ever imagined. And so, my loves, the story doesn't close neatly. Claire's life hung between loyalty and desire, safety and danger, devotion and betrayal. She knew the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. And when it came to light, the cost would be heavy. That is the tale of the dangerous ex. Thank you for joining me tonight on Tales of Love. If this story has touched your heart, stay close for more, because love is fragile, temptation is powerful, and sometimes the heart is its own greatest betrayer.